We'll get to all the nitty gritty stuff, but more importantly, how are you, your wife, and your kids doing right now?
No, I appreciate you asking. I think everybody's trying to figure things out. We're spending a lot of time in the house, more than I usually do, more than I really probably ever have. One aspect you get great family time. On the other aspect, you feel for our players, what they've gone through. Feel my family's back in Chicago. Feel for everybody in the country right now. But how are you doing?
Well, being here in New York City, thanks for asking. It's a little intense. I would say 2 weeks ago, I was really concerned. And I went through kind of some roller coasters, but I would say this yesterday, which is Monday, March 16th, that was the first day where I actually started to have butterflies and really start to, I don't want to say panic, but they shut down the New York City public schools, which means that there's a million kids not going to school, which means that it also has a snowball effect because it affects a lot of the parents who are also in the medical system, and we need those people to be helping
Right.
us out right now. They shut down the restaurants and bars last night at 8 o'clock. So there's just like a lot of stuff. And then you also have the panic buying at the grocery
Yep.
stores. I don't know if you guys are saying that in North Carolina, but here in New
We are.
York, you are? Okay.
We are. Yeah, we are. We had to go to the store yesterday, and a lot of toilet paper is the big. Obviously, that's the big thing you see in the news.
Yeah, what is up with the
Well,
toilet paper situation?
we were not. I was not shopping for toilet paper, but I know other people clearly had been before me. Water, lots of
Yeah.
stuff, off the shelves. But you know what? It was pretty good though overall. We were able to get mostly everything.
How is the team handling all of this so far?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, the fact that we're not even together right now. Our players went home on Sunday and yesterday. I'm getting my days mixed up. It's hard to keep track
I
of
know.
what day at this point. But it's first of all, when I talk about our team, I also want to be clear. There's a lot of other teams in the country, a lot of other players, a lot of other people that are going through the same thing. But I know I obviously can just relate to what our guys are going through. And it was a unique situation. Uh, you know, our team, we talked about all year, thinking about the postseason is almost a rehearsal, different situations to get ready for the postseason.
Hmm.
And so, how ironic and just how sad that it happened to be where the literally the day of our first game in the postseason. Hopefully, you're playing 9 games, three in the ACC tournament and six in the NCAA tournament. At a minimum, you play two, right? But just the timing of it was really difficult. I credit our guys, our university. We ended up, doing what was right, no question. But I think when you're in the moment, your these decisions are very difficult to figure out what's best,
Yeah.
what to do. But I'm glad we made the right decision. Best for our guys, best for everybody. But it's no matter what, it's sad. It's just sad. But really, it was chaotic.
Yeah.
You're hearing so many different things. In the meantime, you are trying to think about the game. And it's we're talking about as a staff always the morning of a game. We sit down at breakfast and we talk about the game plan, talk about concerns, different things we want to do. That day, we hardly talked about the game. It was probably the least prepared we've ever been for a game, right? Because there's so much more at stake. There's more. It was bigger than basketball than what was happening that day. And so it was chaotic. You're watching the TV, you're checking Twitter constantly, and just seeing what news there is. And I think if you go back to the night before, I think when Rudy Gobert, when that happened. Look, all of our players, they look up to the NBA guys, and to see one of the NBA players had got the coronavirus,
Yeah.
game got canceled, and then the season got suspended. That was a big wake up call to everybody. And then the next morning, mid morning, Donovan Mitchell, it came out that he had coronavirus as well. And so I think those two things made it real for everybody, and at least in the basketball world. Um, and I think, so that's what I was talking about when you're checking Twitter and, checking the news, things just kept progressing. And then one thing led to another.
That's the unique thing about this is that time is moving so quickly So much can
Right.
happen in 12 hours. And you,
And not to cut you off, the other thing, the tournament was canceled later that day, and so the day
yeah,
before, for us it was all right. You're playing the tournament, but no fans.
right.
Then we're playing the ACC tournament, and then you go to we're canceling the ACC tournament, and then a few hours later, actually we were on the bus together when the news came out about canceling the tournament, which we expected. But yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so you guys were kind of expecting it, especially with the NBA making their decision.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think it's appropriate to follow their lead, and
Yeah.
I think the advantage the NBA has, they're able to, um, they have more time. First of all, just because of college, kids are going to the NBA, and guys graduate, and you leave school, and so it's hard to go into the summer. But I think I would like to think they're looking at postponing it. I think I was personally holding out hope that that would happen, but realistically, it's canceling was the right decision. And but in that moment, you're hoping for the best outcome, of course.
Yeah. So right now, majority of the schools, including Duke, have basically they haven't suspended class, but they have pushed everything to online and distance learning. So have all the players, did they go back home and they're trying to operate through this distance learning program right now?
Well, right now we have another week of spring break. That's this week, and so we're trying to get organized. Most of our players are at home. Really, it just depends on each individual guy, and then just preparing so they're set up from afar, being able to finish up school, get the help they need, and take care of their business. And so I can't even explain in my 7 years as a coach in the last week or and really in the last week. There's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
Information constantly changes. What we can do, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and so we're just trying to listen to school officials at this point. Take care of academics, make sure everyone's healthy, make sure everyone's as safe as possible, and in the meantime, make sure our families are safe and
Yeah.
everybody on staff. And so it's just such a unique time trying to stay positive, but of course making sure our players are under the right care and in a good spot.
Yeah, and I know that those conversations are changing because there's more and more information coming out about how to respond to this. But what does that care look like for players? And are players do they have the opportunity to train right now? Well, I don't even know if they do because in a lot of the places they're shutting down gyms. They're trying to eliminate a lot of that contact.
Yeah, well, we've told our guys working out isn't the priority right now. And truly, I mean, just today, I mean, right before, me and you were talking, our governor came out and, all restaurants is going to just pick up, carry out, and delivery, and that's it. And gyms are closing, and it depends where some of our guys are. Maybe they have a gym where nobody really goes to, maybe not. Haven't spoken to any of them about working out. It's been
Yeah.
about self-isolating, taking care of yourself, and making sure you're in a good spot with academics and to handle that.
What among the coaches, and of course, Coach K leading, if there's anyone to that you would want to be behind and alongside with, it's somebody like him who has so much experience and has really served as a leader just in the general basketball world. But what have the conversations been like among the coaching staff in terms of really tending to the student athletes' mental health, I should say, because I know for myself, the moment sport was taken out of my life in a abrupt fashion, typically for me it was through injury. There is there's kind of a sense of panic, and you have this anxiety because it's like we're not practicing. We're so used to being busy all the time. You eat, sleep, and breathe sport. So, what kinds of conversations are you guys having about how to really help the student athletes through this right now?
Well, it's evolving, and I'm proud of. I've always been proud, like I told you in the beginning, and it's Duke fam right here, me and you, and and I think you're proud when you go to Duke University, proud to be a Duke athlete, and for me personally, I'm proud to have played for Coach, to now work with him, but never more proud in the last week because he's been all about, you know, the players, our guys, and figuring out what's best. That literally has changed every day. It has changed from the ACC tournament to, whether, we are going to be allowed to play, whether we should play, to the rest of literally every day after. Originally, we talked, can we keep him here? What can we do for him at Duke? And, is the campus open? Is the campus closing? And just literally so many different situations. And I think end of the day, they're being with their families is, really the best case. We've told them we're here from afar, and really just to be in touch because, we found just in that one day with ACC tournament, I think every day since, so much changes on a daily basis. And so coach has been incredible. We followed his lead and, just trying to stay positive. And, like we have 3 seniors on our team, Jack White, Jester Robinson, Javin DeLaurier. We'll see. We'll have a couple guys go pro as well that we don't know yet. But like for this to be their last moment, I think all you can do is be there for them, and try to have some empathy, even though it's hard. Look, Coach K has done this for 45 years, and he's never had a situation like this. And so I always find, this is my first time going through anything like this. But this is when Coach has never experienced something, it's a really unique situation. And so this is that clearly.
Yeah, my heart really, you mentioned a couple of the guys that will probably, go to the NBA and take their talents there. And not that I don't feel as bad for them, but they have so much more basketball left to be played. But my heart definitely goes out to the seniors and probably all collegiate and also high school seniors too, who this was it for them. And this was their last opportunity to really shine. And I know your seniors, on one hand, it's unfortunate, but on the other, they really had a great opportunity to shine, because especially that home finale against UNC, all 3 of them got to start. And then you talk about Justin Robinson too, who the former walk-on and coming out and just having an amazing game. So I don't know, it's kind of twofold.
No, it is. I think you hit a great point. You have to look at some of the positives, and the way the season ended in that fashion, the seniors starting and having huge roles. Especially, we call him J-Rob, the game that J-Rob had, frankly, we felt like he was taking off. And, you look at the game before he played NC State, he was great. And then the Carolina game has 4 threes, banks one of them in. And then, in the postseason, we felt like he is about to play his best basketball. We almost found a new player. And so, again, we definitely look back on the positives, no question about it. I apologize if my daughter runs in here. Like I said, we're in unique times right now.
We're a family-friendly show, and we welcome. I mean, I apologize if you hear my dog.
Let me. Okay. Nobody's gonna say hi right now. So I guess I'm able to just keep our conversation going.
Okay, she didn't want to come say hi. I totally hear it.
Not right now.
She's like, you guys are not talking about anything interesting right now. I've got way better things to do.
Exactly.
But going back to J-Rob, that was his first and only career start. That one game against UNC, and he's a former walk-on, his 5th year. So I know there was a quote from him saying, it was the best feeling in the world. And that's a storybook ending to my life in Cameron.
Yes. It honestly should have been, I think if we would have kept playing, that would have been one of the biggest stories in March, because he, 5 years, showed up every day, first one in, has worked his tail off. Hold on one sec.
You're good.
Hey. Okay, we're not going to play the piano right now. Okay? Come on. In my office, there's a piano right here.
That is so funny.
I thought this would be a good time to play the piano, but we'll play the piano later, okay?
This is going in the show, by the way. I'm just letting you know. This is a part of it. This is what quarantine life is all about.
Look, there's nothing. It's the dad life. It's how it goes, and so yeah, it's tough. She can't play the piano right
I get
now.
it. I hear you.
But
I hear you. That's how I feel about not going to the gym, honestly. That's like I want to like have
so
a
you
temper
do it.
tantrum.
You might hold on 1 minute.
Okay, you're okay. You're totally cool. It's okay. Don't sweat it.
Okay.
You might have to move upstairs.
Yeah, you can. She can play for a
Okay,
second.
go ahead and
so
play
get
for
it up.
everybody. Play for everybody. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Oh, now she's upstairs.
Okay.
Okay, come on.
You guys are so lucky you have a house, though.
You want to let her? Why don't you bring her up real quick? She'll. All right. I think we're all still processing this.
Yeah.
I think we're still digesting, and I mean, my wife would tell you I go through waves where it's just ups and downs, and I'm not quite sure how I even feel. And I know it has to be the same way for them. You think about the seniors, you think about guys who are going pro. What's the process? Everything's on hold right now. You work so hard all summer, really your entire life. Forget about afterwards. Playing the tournament, it's a one-time thing. It's once in a lifetime. And again, fortunately for our guys who are seniors, we played it every year. But that's taken away from you. I think there's still we're still going through the time where we're processing everything and figuring out how our guys feel first and foremost. And even for us as coaches, we're still going through it.
The benefits of the time that we are in right now is that we have social media and we have phones and cell phones. Imagine if we didn't have FaceTime, we didn't have the opportunity to Skype, which you now have. You're welcome.
I had it overseas, but now this is good to bring back.
This will help you with your recruiting process. I can tell you right now, at least for the next several months. But has there been, what are you guys doing right now to stay connected? Because I think, especially for team sports, where you guys are used to moving and operating as a unit with multiple people. And it's not just the team, it's the coaches and players and training staff and doctors and administrators and everything. And then once you're by yourself, it's extremely, it feels lonely.
Yeah, no, it does. And really just, bugging our guys. I'm sure our guys are at a certain point, we're like, yo, we're fine. Like, stop texting me. Like, we're good. Let us live. No, but honestly, just reaching out to them and staying in touch, and we'll continue to do that.
Does this make you reflect on your experience as a former athlete? I think that March Madness, it feels so weird to be sitting here during the month of March where you're used to being on the court, you're used to competing and playing. And for me, from the perspective of a media member, I'm used to just watching and covering it. And such a special time of year where you could have basketball anywhere from like 9 a.m. all the way until like 1 a.m. Yeah. And it's weird that it's so silent right now. But does this make you reflect on your experience as a former athlete? Because and thinking about some of the student athletes that didn't have the opportunity to showcase their skills and become a part of that Cinderella run and up their status in terms of whether or not they were going to be an NBA prospect. It's March Madness, it's the biggest stage for college athletes.
Right. And I think also just the joy that comes with it. It's now for some it's joy, for others it's heartbreak. I've been on both sides. My freshman year, we got upset by VCU. The game-winning shot, was hit on me with a second left, and that was my intro to March Madness. And then, my senior year, we cut down the nets, win the whole thing, and I was in one shining moment in a good way, as opposed to a different kind of way. But I think it just, what, Prim, I think it puts in perspective how lucky we are to do what we do and to play in the tournament and to now coach at Duke and to coach our guys and not to take it for granted. I mean, it's the fact no sports are on right now, not even the NBA, not even, the tournament, like you said. And tonight, there should be games. There should be games in Dayton tonight and tomorrow night, and the tournament should kick off on Thursday. But I think that's the biggest thing, just to have perspective how lucky we are, how lucky I was to have played, how lucky you were. You know, I know you didn't play in March Madness, but you know how lucky you were to have played in college.
With this long break, a break that coaches and athletes never get to have, ever really.
Yeah.
How could you use this time to be productive in a way that might re-energize you and allow you time to rest and recover if you need it?
No, it's a great question. First of all, can you hear me? Because I hear some Olaf, noises in the background from Frozen.
I actually don't hear Olaf.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Is Olaf coming through?
No. As long as I'm good.
I love me some Olaf though.
Okay. Yeah. So we've really Disney Plus. I'll tell you what. In a time like this, it's important to appreciate Disney Plus. I'll also say that as well. That's been huge. No, but I just think for myself. First of all, when you think from a team standpoint, rewatching all of our games is something I can tell you. Every one of us on the staff, we will rewatch every game we played this year, analyze what we liked, didn't like, things we can do better, individual tendencies, improvements, all those things. I think it gives you time to really do that and analyze it in a much deeper level than maybe you would in a normal year. And then I think as a coach, you look for, I can tell you I'll be watching a lot of other games and other people, whether it be NBA and college. You try to pick up new sets, new skill development, you get all these, I got all these coaching tapes. I could tell you'd be bored by all the people that I have, but just try to learn from other people as well. So I think it's a great time to do that, improve on your craft, study it and to get better. So that's something I'm hoping to do during this time. Yeah, no, it's a great question. Am I allowed to ask you a question, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. What schools, when you got recruited, were you between? I knew this. What did it come?
So I was looking at William and Mary, Vanderbilt, UCLA, Duke, and Harvard. Completely different schools. Yeah. 4 out of the 5 were top 10 tennis programs. Duke had just made the Final Four. They were the highest ranked. They were 3 in the country.
You made the right decision, by the way. Proud of you.
I think I made the right decision. I knew at the moment I stepped foot on there. But really, it does make me think about the people. Seriously, if my season had ended, if I was a junior in high school and the season had ended in March, I don't know if I would have been on that map. And because that season allowed me to then be named to the U.S. national team and then start traveling internationally and then the rankings. And then that allowed me to be on the map for some of these other top tier programs. You were looking at Illinois because you're from Illinois, right? And where else?
Arizona and Duke. And there are a few other schools in the Midwest that, really like Michigan State, Kansas, Wisconsin. My dad worked at Madison at the time. But it came down to those 3, all different, kind of like your schools, because I knew there were some when you have different schools, it's a way to separate themselves, right? So West Coast, Midwest, East Coast. But end of the day, I made the right decision too, by the way. Yeah. So, but you know what? You bring up a great point, and it's all about exposure, right? And being able to play in front of college coaches, getting a chance to make your mark. I can tell you for our senior recruits, their seasons are done, and typically for a bunch of our guys, they play in the McDonald's All-American game or Jordan All-American game. They have these different events, the Hoop Summit, where it's in front of EA personnel. That's canceled. They won't be able to do that anymore. So, really the next step probably for them will be here at Duke. But as far as the guys we're looking at that are not committed, I think we need to be creative as coaching staff. It's something Coach already talked about. How do you can't just, you might broaden your base a little bit of guys you're looking at, because
Mm.
this is a time, especially in the spring and then the summer, where you find some new prospects and guys that have kind of continued to get better and now they've arrived. And that's happened to us every summer. You know, guys going into their senior year, we find somebody we didn't know about beforehand
Hmm.
and start recruiting them. And so it'll be interesting for us how we're able to navigate that, but we'll be creative. Coach is always on us to make sure we're looking at every option.
Mm.
So I'll be doing my job with that for sure.
If there are some high school athletes that are listening right now, what kind of advice would you have to offer them in terms of just raising their platform and trying to put themselves out there in a way where their brand can reach and be connected with some of the college coaches out there?
That's a good question. I think first and foremost, if I could go back in time, I think there's nothing wrong with reaching out to schools that you're really interested in. And, you know, I would highly suggest that. And so people think, you know, you're at Duke and, you get a, ton of mail, ton of people reaching out. We take it seriously. And when there's someone who expresses interest in us, we make sure we investigate and check it out. And I think just like, again, just like marriage, just like dating, when you know the other person likes you, that's
Yeah.
the person that doesn't like you right away. And so I think it's the same thing with college recruiting.
That's a really good point. And for anybody listening out there, I was recruited, as I mentioned, by Vanderbilt, UCLA, Harvard, the Princeton, Yales of the world, and some other, like Alabama, Texas, whatever. They did not recruit me. And it was my mom who encouraged me to write a letter to my coach now, Coach Jamie Ashworth. And we ended up connecting, and that's how I got to Duke. So that's actually a really good point. So if you're listening out there and you're a high school athlete, just because you aren't being recruited doesn't mean that you don't have that opportunity. That's just your way to be proactive and put yourself out there.
And don't be afraid of hearing no. I mean, just
Yeah.
be bold. And we like hearing that. We like getting that feedback. And that would be, my advice. And I play well. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Playing well is playing great, I should say, helps as well.
Any last minute advice to not, I know you're having continuing conversations with your players, but just the general student athletes and athletes out there right now who feel like sitting ducks at home and sitting in isolation and are having a really tough time through this. Any words of advice from you to them?
Well, it's funny. I did tell some of our guys, I was talking to a couple of them, and I said, as a coach, now this is my seventh season, 4 as a player at Duke, so 11 years in college basketball. You're used to after the season, patting a guy in the back because we lost, and it's, disappointing game, but a heck of a year. Here's what you have to look forward to. Same thing, been lucky to be a part of 2 times when we've won the national championship where you're celebrating together. That usually doesn't happen, but never a situation like this. And so I basically just have said, look, I don't know exactly what to say. Just know I'm thinking about you. And, I hope all basketball players, all athletes that have had this happen to them where season's been canceled or ended, they know a lot of people are thinking about them, and they're not alone. I think it's easy to feel alone when you're isolated, season just ended, you don't know, and you don't know what's next. So I guess it's not advice. That would be, that's not the best advice, but it's at least
A reminder.
it's a reminder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
That's a great reminder. I'm trying. My brain is really churning right now, and I'm getting ideas every minute of the day. And my husband, who's in the advertising and media space as well, we are both kind of brainstorming because, especially with my show and talking about the next chapter, I think it's a really good opportunity to get involved in this space right now. And I know there's a lot of athletes out there, so I'm trying to think of a way to bring on some of these athletes so we can live on, have their careers live on. And I want to use my platform for a good cause and hopefully bring some of these athletes on here so we can share some of those good memories. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of something, but if you have any ideas, Coach, you just let me know.
Well, now that ideas will just come to me fast. Now that I know, now that you said that to me, I'll be brainstorming as well. Just you guys can look forward to hearing from me later. I'm gonna just throw them at you.
I love it. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're dealing with a lot and you got the kiddos running around, but I'm so glad to have you on, and I'm glad that you guys are safe and enjoy playing piano with your daughter now.
If she lets me. She usually doesn't let
She
me
might be
play
a little
piano.
mad now.
So exactly. Thank you so much, Prim. All the best
All
to
right,
you guys.
Coach. Talk to you
All right.
later. Bye.
See you.
All right, Coach. It is time for some rapid fire quarantine questions, just to kind of end things lightly and on a fun note. Are you ready?
I'm ready for you.
What has been your comfort toy in all of this?
I don't really have a comfort toy. I need one, but I don't have one.
You don't have a comfort toy? Favorite
No,
shoes,
what's
favorite
yours?
socks, t-shirt, comfort toy. You want me to get it?
No, what's yours? Yeah,
Hold
get
on. I'll bring it.
All right.
It's about a gallon and then Clorox, and so heavy it just. Oh, there you go. Where's your comfort spot in the house? And now here's where you got to do a little show and tell.
I guess I'll move for this one. So we're actually in my office right now, but
Right on.
but then I also operate probably not less for work, but late at night, and this is my spot. It's actually cleaner than it usually is with our kids, but this is my spot right over here on the couch. I don't know if you can see it.
That's so funny. Yeah.
So this is looking at the TV up there. So that's my spot. I don't know if you can really
Couch.
ture
Yep.
Couch.
Oh, hey, while you're up, can you show us
Oh,
what's
yeah.
in your fridge? What's in your fridge? This is kind of like a quarantine cribs, if you will.
I actually think we're doing all right in the. So we have milk.
Great.
We have yogurt,
Fantastic.
spinach, fruit down here.
Healthy
We do have
family
a
you guys are.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. We have, these. My daughter, I don't know if you ever had these, but she loves these
Oh, yeah.
little pouch yogurt things.
I'm a big fan of those. Yeah, I feel like adults have somehow started using those pouches as a way to get their vegetables. I see people like walking down here in New York City down the streets, and they're just like eating out of those pouches. I'm like, you're 40 years old. Should you really be eating from a pouch? I don't know if that's a good idea. Last question. Who should we interview next? And you can feel free to tag somebody you know or don't know, or someone who's inspirational, whoever.
Well, he's not inspirational, but I do wonder about the shower question. I think Gerald Henderson would be a great person to ask what he's doing throughout this time. And so
I was like, who are you about to say that you basically just said he's not inspirational? And then once you said Gerald, I was like, that makes so much sense.
he's the least inspirational person I could think of, but I think he would be good to talk to about what he's doing,
What do you
throughout
think
this
he is doing? What do you
Nothing, not much, really not much. I know he's not working out. He's definitely not running. I know he's being a good father with his kids, but besides that, I don't know what else he's really doing right now. You should check in on him.
I know exactly. I'm going to predict when I call him, he's going to be in golf clothes. He's going to be wearing his golf pants, the belt, golf shoes, golf shirt, and he would have probably played like 5 holes of golf.
That sounds about right, but I just worry about him being a.
Say it. Don't stop.
I just worry about him being able to, last long enough to get in 18 holes. His endurance and shape, he's been retired now for a long time, and I just worry about him being able to play that long of a golf game.
I mean,
So you should please ask him about that. If you end up talking to him, I understand if you don't want to, but if you do,
tag your Gerald Henderson Jr. I'm coming after you. Very cool.
perfect. Let me know if he showered recently.
Yeah, I'll ask him that actually. I'm gonna put
Just
that
ask
in.
him that.
I'll ask him. I'll ask him. We'll find out.
All right.
Good thing we
Thank
don't
you.
have smell-o-vision.
Exactly.
All right, Coach. Stay safe, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Prim. Appreciate it. See you guys.